It's not weakness to miss the body that you once had. It's honesty. And it took honesty to therefore click on this video and watch it. So well done. What you are experiencing psychologically is body composition grief. It is a psychological process very similar to grieving a person or missing a person. And this is specifically quite intense for ex-athletes, not because you looked athletic or maybe you looked aesthetically pleasing or you got a lot of praise for the way that you looked. It's not actually because of that. It's because your body was your weapon. Your body was your identity. Your body was the thing that achieved greatness. And you had complete control of your body. But now you may feel resentment, shame, maybe even guilt about the way your body looks now and how it's changing. On top of that, you might be experiencing chronic pain from an injury or surgeries that didn't work. Welcome to my world. Anyway, what I'm getting at here is when you are experiencing that, the pain or simply the body changes or both can seem a threat to you and they can cause anger or anxiety, etc. What to do? Start off by saying it out loud. Acknowledge what you feel. I miss my body, or I miss my body and how it's changed. You could also journal about your, perspective on your own body image before you were an athlete, as an athlete, and now as an ex-athlete. All those three in that order, that will really help. And another one is to practice mirror work. So self-compassion and, for example, pointing out areas of your body that you love rather than you dislike. But before we get too excited about how to change it, please avoid the trap of ignoring it or pretending that you don't care when deep down you really do care. Or maybe numbing the grief with overtraining or overeating or undereating. Moving on, you want to redefine strength beyond aesthetics and also beyond performance. So recognizing that your worth is not tied to, for example, your muscle mass or the way your body looks, neither is it tied to what your body can do and the performance that your body once had. The psychological insight here is that athletes were trained to only feel worthy when their body performed, okay? And if you didn't perform or you didn't perform well, then you may not have felt of worth, sorry. Now, the thing with injuries or chronic pain, this causes a deep identity rupture because it's so significant and it really stops you and it causes significant change in the body. So if you're experiencing an injury or chronic pain, there's a subconscious belief pattern in your subconscious brain. Remember, your subconscious brain is the part of your brain that you're not aware of, okay? And you may have this subconscious belief, I can't perform, therefore I have no value. I suffered with chronic pain for years, since I was 13, but obviously the chronic pain got very severe and it actually got a lot worse after all of the surgeries I've had on my left foot. Thankfully, the right foot is amazing. So the surgery solved all of the problems on the right foot, but made all of the problems on the left foot worse, okay? And so at the time of filming this video, I'm still in chronic pain, all right? And so I really get the aspects of chronic pain or injury, because in a way it is an injury because the surgeries don't work and there's like 5 structural things that are still wrong with my foot after, I can't remember if it's 9 or 11 ankle surgeries. It's a lot, okay? And so you can only imagine how many times I've been in surgery, like semi-training at the gym, for example, but obviously trying not to aggravate my foot, and then having a lot of periods where I couldn't train and I was in crutches, and that happened over time and time again over the years. And then, it wasn't too long ago that I had like this 6-month period where I may as well have been living in a wheelchair, So I get the extent of what it can take and the barriers that it can cause. to the point where you can't even exercise really. Now, chronic pain can also retrain the nervous system and make it very sensitive, as in make the nervous system hypersensitive, which essentially makes the pain worse and worse and worse over time. Chronic pain is a whole thing though, and I'll make a different video on it in the future because there's just so much to it. But that's a little insight if you are experiencing chronic pain. So one thing that can really help is writing down a list of things that make you strong, okay? And they're not physical. For example, your resilience. I always get complimented by friends on like my wisdom. I guess like I've always been considered emotionally quite mature for my age. And I see that as a strength of mine. Or maybe your empathy for others, and that's a strength, or your leadership towards others, and that's a strength. Remember, there's so many qualities about you that are strengths that others don't have. Another one is to begin very gentle movement, or movement that obviously doesn't aggravate the injury or aggravate the chronic pain without the goal in mind of performance. I know that can be really difficult because you'll want to perform to your best, especially if you're trying to get back in shape or back into your athletic body and you don't have an injury or chronic pain as a barrier. But it's really important to retrain the mind that there is more to you than just the way you look or the way your body performs, okay? In no way, shape or form is the fact that I can't really walk very far or very much, and that the fact that I'm like always in pain basically, in no way, shape or form does that devalue me as a person, just because I can't physically do as much as someone else. And in fact, you know, I compliment myself for looking the way I do despite, like physically, despite my ankles and stuff. Like my legs aren't nearly as strong. There's really not much tone or definition in them. My left lower leg, it looks like really pale sometimes, and there's areas where there's like no proper blood flow and like it looks like bruised, even though it's been bruised for like a year and a half, and some pretty like, you know, un-advertisement worthy kind of things. But in a way I see it as my strength, because it's like I'm reminded every day of what I don't have, but because of my perspective I see it as I'm reminded every day of what I do have. Do you know what I mean? Like I have healthcare, I have a roof over my head, I have passion in what I do, I have so much strength and acceptance and love for myself, and the resilience that it took to push through not only the mental journey of being an ex-athlete, but also the physical journey of all these surgeries and chronic pain. I should really make a different video on chronic pain. Another one is to practice self-love through the way you treat your body, okay? Through good nutrition, okay? Good eating and drinking habits, but also in terms of recovery, okay? Get back into those recovery things that you used to do as an athlete that served you well, because they're not only good for your physical body, they are really good for your mind as well. Literally yesterday I went to this, I love it. It's this ice bath sauna. It's got like pools and it's like out in nature. The sauna is like a rock one. Anyway, I love it, okay? I don't train nearly as hard, nearly as much as I used to as an athlete, but I do it out of the practice of learning to love my body and still care for my body in other ways and aspects. And I will mention that the ice bath, it really helps me mentally as well. And afterwards, I do like a lot of hot and cold therapy between the wood-fired or rock-fired, I don't know what it is, sauna and the ice bath. Like the combination of that is something that I really value, because mentally it makes me feel good as well. So it's important to still care for your body through nutrition, through, you know, recovery as well, not just from a training or physical output aspect. Here's a trap though to avoid, is to definitely avoid the fitness trap of trying to earn your value or your worth back by trying to look aesthetically pleasing, because this only deepens the wound, okay? Something I haven't talked about on here is I actually bodybuilded, under a coach for bodybuilding, IFBB, for those of you who like bodybuilding, and was going to compete. I was actually meant to compete October last year, which is almost a year ago, at the time of filming this video, and it was so silly, you know. The reason I did was because I tried to have this positive aspect on body change, and I was like, you know what? Now that I don't have to look like a ballerina, I'm gonna try and look the opposite, which is a bodybuilder. I was like, great, and I had this positive aspect or perspective, but deep down it wasn't positive. I was trying to earn self-respect and worth and value by the way I looked and what my body performed and how my body performed. And I was still in pain, and I made the pain worse, obviously. And it was really silly. It was really, really silly. And I had to give up, and eventually I realized that I didn't want to compete anyway either, because it's quite unhealthy to get that lean, and the reason I did it was for health, not the opposite of that. But also my foot was just tremendously bad. And so it's really important to avoid that trap, because it won't heal the wound, okay? It might from the outside, but deep down, you still won't feel like you respect the way you look. You still won't feel like you respect the way you perform. That inner critic will be firing, and what we are trying to do here is heal the wound, okay? Not make the wound deeper. The last one is to face the trauma that's held in the body. In my video about anxiety, I explained how scientifically pain is stored in the body, okay? All of your nerves connect to muscles, okay? And so pain isn't just emotional, okay? It's also physical. So many athletes, they do carry unprocessed trauma in their bodies. And I know it sounds a bit voodoo, but it is actually scientific. It's not this spiritual voodoo anything. From pressure, from burnout, from coaching, from overtraining, all of these things can create unprocessed trauma in the body, because as an athlete, you suppressed a lot of that as well. There's a book called The Mind-Body Prescription. I really encourage you get it and you read it if you suffer with chronic pain, or you know you're storing unprocessed trauma in the body. So chronic pain reflects, for example, stored stress or emotional suppression. Now, part of that, I know, was due to what I had suppressed, okay? But in saying that, also part of the pain is these 5 structural things that I've had scans and I've seen, okay? Which was good to know that it wasn't all in my head, because I was wondering, why am I starting to emotionally feel healed or feel healed in my heart, but my foot, you know, still hurts? And that just didn't really make sense to me. And then I realized, oh, you've actually got 5 things wrong that do need surgery. Obviously, I'm too scared to get surgery though, because surgery is also trauma. Every time you go in and you cut something, you're also cutting a nerve, and yeah, all microscopic nerves. So it's a bit too risky at this point in time. With that being said, if your pain persists after physical healing, let's just say the surgery did heal and all of the things are coming back fine, or the injury did rehabilitate and everything is coming back fine, but you are still in pain, that means that the pain is psychosomatic. And psychosomatic pain is another word for unresolved trauma, okay? Now, there's a lot of like somatic or psychosomatic healing modalities. For example, breath work, TRE, which is traumatic release exercises. There's even people out there who do like these physical trauma releasing things. So if you are struggling with chronic pain, there are coaches out there for chronic pain as well. Or additionally, you could look at like a therapist who specializes in chronic pain, okay? And just make it clear that's something that I do not do. I don't work with people's bodies hands-on and try and release their trauma that way. And I don't deal with physical chronic pain, okay? I deal with ex-athletes wanting to heal, wanting to find their new purpose, okay? And in doing so, that gets a lot of them out of the pain. Like I can say right now, the more healed I have felt, the less pain I have experienced, but now it's hit a point where it's like, okay, it's lessened the pain, but the pain is definitely still there. And it's just like this, it's not getting worse and it's not getting better. It's just like, okay, you decreased, but now it's just like staying still. And now I know, okay, most likely a lot of that is due to the 5 structural issues that I haven't gotten surgery on. A trap to avoid is big one. Don't believe it's all in your head, okay? I used to think, oh my goodness, it must be all in my head, because for 2 to 3 years, the surgeons kept telling me, everything's fine. I'm so sorry, but nothing else can be done. And I'm like, oh my goodness, it really is all in my head. And it's all my fault. And then when I saw a different surgeon, he made me get all these scans and he was like, it's not all in your head. So don't fall into that trap. And also don't ignore, with that being said, the mind-body connection, okay? I think within your own journey, you'll find your own answers and your own common ground to all of this. And yeah, but initially don't fall into the trap of like, oh, it's all in my head, because, you know, there's a huge chance that it won't be. And lastly, it's so important to shift from punishment towards the body to partnership with the body. For the first time in your life, you don't have to punish your body. Wow. So you don't need to dominate your body anymore. You just need to listen to it. Athletes often override a lot of pain signals in order to perform and keep doing their career, etc. I did that too for a very long time. But after retirement, the body often does scream, okay, which can also cause emotional or mental burnout. But also you have the physical side of burnout because your body has been overtrained. I've never met an athlete who like never experienced overtraining. Like, it's just not a thing. So healing in this sense means switching from control to collaboration with the body. And do understand, with reference to chronic pain lessens when the nervous system relaxes and when the nervous system feels listened to. And that starts not only with how you treat your body, but also how you talk to your body, not out loud, maybe out loud, but most likely how you talk to your body through your thoughts, okay? So as an athlete, you never really would have asked yourself, oh, how do I feel today? What should I do for my body? You know, you probably didn't ask yourself those things. So start to ask, you know, your body, how does it feel today? What does it need? And when you are in pain, or you are suffering with chronic pain or an injury or something like that, say thank you to it. Thank you for carrying me. You know, I still thank my feet for carrying me, because it's not like I am living in a wheelchair. I can hobble about, you know, and I appreciate them for carrying me. And with recovery, treat your recovery practices as like this sacred thing. In recovery, I just cannot stress enough how non-optional this should be, okay? With body image and learning how to re-talk to your body, because it's just so important. And recovery is also sleep. Recovery is also hydration, nutrition, all the things. That is also how you treat your body, not just how you train or how many calories you burn or how much muscle you build. You are not your body. You are not your injury. You also are not the image in the mirror. You are the consciousness within it. You are the consciousness within your body. That's what you are. And your next chapter is not about what your body can do. It's about who you are becoming, okay? It's totally fine to set like physical goals or things like that, but initially, it's so important to change how you talk to your body, how you see your body, and your relationship and your beliefs with what your body looks like and how your body performs.